There wasn't a single broken shard on the floor. "What the hell?" Leo said, confused. Ethan looked around, and then he noticed something. On the old, dusty kitchen table, a message had just been written. Someone's fingers had traced through the layer of dust, forming clear letters. "Get out." The writing was crude, full of anger. None of them had been in the kitchen since they arrived. "Okay, this can't be a hallucination," Leo said, his voice trembling slightly. "There's another spirit here, and it's not as friendly as Isabel." "It wants us to leave," Chloe said, staring at the words. "This is a direct warning." Throughout the rest of the day, strange phenomena continued to occur, but in more subtle, more personal ways. The house seemed to be probing them, finding each person's weakness. While rearranging books in the library, Ethan suddenly heard his sister's voice calling his name. "Ethan! Help me!" The voice was faint, desperate, seemingly coming from behind a bookshelf. He frantically ran towards it, knocking over stacks of books, only to find a cold, empty wall. The illusion of Anna was no longer just an image, it now had a voice. The pain and regret inside him felt as if they were being pricked by needles, growing more agonizing. Leo, while walking alone in the backyard to find a good camera angle, saw his camera's feed suddenly fill with static. When he played it back, amidst the footage of the overgrown trees, a single frame lasting about 2 seconds appeared. The face of an angry man, his eyes wide, his mouth open as if screaming silently. The face vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving Leo stunned and breaking out in a cold sweat. He replayed the tape over and over, but he couldn't find the frame again. It was as if it had appeared only for him to see. As for Chloe, while sitting alone in the main hall reading Isabel's diary, she suddenly felt a hand on her shoulder. An ice-cold hand. She spun around, but no one was there. She began to hear whispers, not in English or French, but in a strange, unfamiliar language, perhaps the tongue of the local indigenous people. The whispers weren't angry, they sounded like they were recounting some tragic story, but she couldn't understand them. Chloe's sensitivity was turning her into an antenna for signals from the other side, and it was draining her. The conflict within the group erupted that evening. "We have to get out of here," Chloe said, her voice firm. "This place is affecting our minds. It's digging up our own fears, our own pains. Staying any longer is dangerous. Leave now." Leo protested vehemently. "Chloe, don't you get it? We're on the verge of documenting an unprecedented paranormal phenomenon. I have proof." A voice, a face on the tape, writing in the dust. "This is going to be the film of a lifetime. We can't give up now. This isn't a movie, Leo. This is our lives." Chloe shouted, her usual composure gone. "Ethan, say something." Leo turned to Ethan, who had been silent the whole time. "You were the one who wanted to come here most." Ethan looked up, his eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep and stress. I agree with Chloe," he said slowly. "But not right now." Both Leo and Chloe were surprised. "I'm not leaving until I find the truth about Anna," Ethan continued, his voice haunting. "I hear her voice. She's here. Maybe she's one of the Sorrows. I have to help her find peace. Ethan, that might not be your sister. Chloe tried to explain. The house could be using your memories to create an illusion, to keep you here. Then I have to stay and find out, Ethan said, his stubbornness reaching its peak. I don't care about Leo's movie or Chloe's research. I only care about my sister. The argument ended in a stalemate. The atmosphere between the three became tense and filled with suspicion. They were no longer a team, but three individuals trapped together, each pursuing their own purpose, their own obsession. The second night fell even faster than the first. This time, they didn't dare to separate. All three sat in the main hall by the lantern, but no one spoke a word. The silence between them was more frightening than the silence of the house. And the house seemed to sense their division. It began its attack more fiercely. The doors on the second floor began to slam shut and then swing open on their own, creating a ghastly rhythm. The piano in the living room suddenly struck a single, jarring, discordant note, then fell silent. The sound of a woman crying echoed again, closer and more painful this time. Suddenly, Leo pointed towards the foot of the stairs, his face pale. Look. They followed his gaze. From under the staircase, a small puddle of water was slowly spreading across the floor. The water was clear, but it gave off the foul smell of algae and mud. What the hell? Is the roof leaking? Leo asked. It's not raining, Ethan replied. He slowly approached the puddle. The foul smell grew stronger. He suddenly remembered Old Man Miller's words. A little boy drowned in the dry well behind the house. As if on impulse, Ethan ran to the back door that led to the garden. Leo and Chloe hurried after him. The backyard was even more desolate than the front. Weeds grew waist-high. In the middle of the garden was a circular stone structure, the mouth of a well, covered by a thick concrete slab. The well, Chloe whispered. The puddle at the foot of the stairs. The well in the backyard. How were they connected? Ethan approached the well. The concrete slab was heavy, but there was a small gap at the edge. He peered into it. It was pitch black inside, the bottom not visible. But he could smell that same familiar scent of damp earth and mud. Give me a hand, he said to Leo. The two men used all their strength, trying to push the concrete slab. It moved slightly, making a piercing, scraping sound. They pushed again. The slab slid to the side, revealing the black mouth of the well. Leo shone his flashlight inside. The well was very deep and had run dry. At the bottom, there was only a layer of black mud and decaying leaves. Nothing else. There's nothing here, Leo said, a hint of disappointment in his voice. But Ethan kept staring at the bottom of the well. He felt like he had missed something. He said to Leo, hold the flashlight for me. Shine it straight down. He took out his phone, switched to video mode, and zoomed in as far as he could, pointing it down the well. The phone screen displayed the image from Leo's flashlight, much clearer than what his naked eye could see. The black mud. Decaying leaves. And Ethan held his breath. Mixed in with the mud was something small and white. It looked like bones. And next to them was a rusted piece of metal. A toy car. Ethan's heart felt like it was being squeezed. That little boy. The boy from the room with the ghostly drawings. He had died here. Just then, a loud burst of static came from the walkie-talkie Chloe was holding, followed by a voice. A child's voice, whispering and terrified, distorted by static. "Dot can't swim. So cold. Mommy." Chloe screamed and dropped the walkie-talkie. Leo quickly picked it up, but there was only the sound of static. "Did you hear that?" Leo stammered, asking Ethan. Ethan didn't answer. He was still staring at his phone screen, at the small white bones and the rusted toy car. A wave of sorrow and rage washed over him. An innocent child had died here, alone and terrified. This was the second sorrow. They stood silently by the well, forgetting the cold, forgetting their fear. There was only an overwhelming sense of tragedy. Serenity Villa wasn't just a haunted house. It was a tomb. A tomb filled with one tragedy piled upon another. And they realized a horrifying truth. They weren't explorers discovering a mystery. They were just the next guests, standing at the threshold of that tomb. And the door was slowly closing behind them. The storm hit suddenly and fiercely, as if the very sky over Pinecrest was unleashing its fury. Dark clouds swarmed in, covering the valley in minutes, turning the afternoon into a twilight scene. The wind howled through the pine hills, lashing the villa with broken branches, creating impacts that sounded like someone trying to break down the door. Rain poured down like a waterfall, torrential and freezing. "We're trapped," Leo said, looking out through a shattered window in the main hall. Rainwater was splashing in, forming a large puddle on the floor. That dirt road must be a river by now. The event at the well had changed everything. No more arguments, no more suspicion. There was only a shared fear and an undeniable truth. They were in the domain of suffering souls. Isabel's diary, the child's room, the voice on the walkie-talkie, and now this storm. Everything seemed orchestrated to keep them here. They decided to leave the main hall, which was too exposed and vulnerable. The library seemed the safest place. It was more enclosed, and it had a fireplace, though they had nothing to burn. They pulled the old armchairs together, forming a defensive circle. The only light came from 2 lanterns and their flashlights. The sound of the rain battering the roof and the wind howling outside created a symphony of chaos. 7 sorrows, Chloe repeated, her voice trembling. "We know about 2. Isabel and the boy in the well. That leaves 5 more. Who are they?" "The massacre of the last family," Ethan said, his mind racing. "Old man Miller said the whole family died. A merchant family. If you count the husband and wife, the children. That could be 4 or 5 people. And the writing in the kitchen, 'Get out,'" Leo added. "It was full of hate. Maybe it's one of them." Suddenly, Chloe clutched her head, shutting her eyes tightly and moaning. "Chloe. What's wrong?" Ethan asked anxiously. "My head. It hurts so much," she said with difficulty. "The images. The sounds. It's too much." Chloe began to gasp for air, her whole body trembling violently. She didn't look like she was in physical pain, but rather as if she were enduring some form of mental torture. Her eyes were closed, but they seemed to be seeing things the others couldn't. Two people. In love. She mumbled, the disjointed words escaping her lips. They wouldn't let them. Forbidden. They met here. In the little room in the attic. The rope. So cold. Ethan and Leo looked at each other, bewildered. Chloe, what are you talking about? But Chloe could no longer hear them. She seemed to be reliving a memory that wasn't hers. He died first. I saw him. I have to follow. The promise. Together forever. At that, she snapped her eyes open. But they were not Chloe's eyes. They were empty, lifeless, and filled with an endless sorrow. She stared into a dark corner of the library. My love. She called out, her voice not her own, but that of a different, mournful young woman. Ethan and Leo shuddered. Chloe was being possessed. Or at least, she was acting as a channel for one of the spirits. A pair of lovers who committed suicide, Ethan whispered, recalling the fragmented stories old man Miller had told. So that's two more sorrows. Leo, though terrified, still aimed his camera at Chloe. He knew this was a crucial moment. Chloe's episode lasted only a few minutes. Then, she slumped over, unconscious. Ethan rushed to catch her. Her breathing was shallow, her forehead clammy with cold sweat. We have to get her out of here, Ethan said, panic beginning to creep into his voice. She can't take much more of this. But where could they go? Outside was the storm. Every other room in the house could be even more dangerous. They were trapped. After tending to Chloe, letting her rest in an armchair, Ethan felt a sense of powerlessness he had never known. He had come here for answers about his sister's death, but now he was dragging others into danger. The guilt gnawed at him more than the fear. He wandered through the library, his flashlight beam scanning the spines of old books. He needed to do something, to find a clue, an escape. His eyes fell on a particular bookshelf in the corner. Unlike the others, this shelf was empty, save for a few old accounting ledgers and a stack of yellowed newspapers. He curiously pulled out a paper. The Pinecrest Chronicle. The date was faded, but he could make out the year, 1972. He flipped through the brittle pages, careful not to tear them. Most of it was political and social news. Then he saw a small article on an inside page, one with no major headline. Tragedy in Pinecrest. An American family, the Hiltons, were found deceased at their private residence, Serenity Villa. According to the initial investigation, Mr. Winston Hiltons, the homeowner, murdered his wife and two young children before hanging himself in the main hall. The motive is believed to be business-related bankruptcy. Police also found the body of the longtime butler, Mr. Victor, in his own room, a suspected suicide. The incident has shocked the communities in Pinecrest. Ethan read the article again and again, each word a hammer blow to his head. So this was it. The final massacre. Mr. Hiltons, his wife, and two children. 4 people. Plus the butler who committed suicide. 5 people. 5, plus Isabel, the boy in the well, and the suicidal lovers. That made a total of 9 people. "Leo," Ethan called softly. "Come here." He showed Leo the article. Leo read it, his face turning pale. 9 people. But Old Man Miller said 7 sorrows. Maybe he was mistaken, or maybe 2 of them have moved on. Ethan speculated. But deep down, he felt that wasn't right. The number 7 had some special significance. "Wait a minute," Leo said, pointing at the butler's name. "Victor. He committed suicide." "Why?" "Suspected suicide." "And why did he die in his own room while the whole family died outside?" A spark of suspicion ignited in Ethan's mind. He remembered the writing in the kitchen, "Get out." A warning filled with hatred and possession. It didn't sound like the voice of a victim. It sounded more like the voice of a jailer. What if? What if the butler didn't commit suicide? Ethan voiced his thought. What if he was the killer? He murdered the entire Hilton's family, staged the scene, and then killed himself to hide his crime. But what was the motive? Greed, Ethan replied. The Hilton's family were wealthy merchants. Maybe he wanted their fortune. The article says Mr. Hilton's went bankrupt, but that was just the initial investigation. Maybe the truth was different. A horrifying theory began to form. The spirit of the butler, with his unfulfilled greed and malevolence, had become the most powerful, most ferocious spirit in the house. He wasn't a sorrow. He was the one who caused the sorrow. And perhaps, he was the one holding the other 6 spirits captive, preventing them from moving on, turning them into tools to spread terror to anyone who dared to venture near. 7 entities, but only 6 sorrows. The 7th was the devil himself. If that's the case, Leo stammered, "The spirit that's been attacking us, writing in the kitchen, making that angry face. It's him." Just as Ethan was about to reply, Chloe suddenly groaned and sat bolt upright. She was conscious this time, but her face was pale and terrified. I saw him," she gasped. "In my dream. I saw him. A slender man in a black work shirt, with cunning eyes. He was standing in the main hall, smiling. A horrifying smile. Around him were other shadows, and they were crying. He wouldn't let them leave." Chloe's words confirmed Ethan's theory. They had uncovered the truth behind the curse. But knowing the truth only made the situation worse. They weren't just facing pitiful spirits, they were up against a true evil, a warden spirit with immense power in its own domain. Suddenly, Leo let out a terrified scream, pointing at the library door. "The door! It's opening!" They turned to look. The library door, which they had carefully barricaded with a chair, was slowly creaking open. There was no wind. No one was there. It was opening by itself. A pitch-black shadow loomed in the hallway. This time it wasn't a hazy apparition, but a solid, dense darkness, as if the shadows there had coalesced into a human form. "Run!" Ethan shouted, pulling Chloe to her feet. They scrambled out of the library through a small service passage they had discovered earlier. The black figure didn't follow, but they could hear a hoarse, hideous laughter echoing down the hall. The passage led them to the kitchen. But as soon as they arrived, every drawer and cabinet in the kitchen flew open simultaneously. Knives, forks, spoons, pots, and pans flew through the air in a deadly metal vortex. "Take cover!" Leo yelled, pulling the other two behind the stone kitchen island. Metal utensils flew past their heads, embedding themselves in the walls and floor with sickening thuds. The assault lasted for about a minute and then stopped. The kitchen was in ruins. Knives and cleavers were stuck everywhere. "It's trying to kill us," Chloe sobbed. "Not yet," Ethan growled through clenched teeth. The fear in him had now turned to rage. He was angry at the evil butler, angry at the house that had claimed so many lives, and angry at himself. "Follow me." He suddenly remembered something. The secret room in the wine cellar. They had discovered it but hadn't gone inside. Perhaps there was an escape route there, or something that could help them. They ran through the main hall, where the ghostly laughter still lingered, and down the stairs to the wine cellar. The storm outside seemed to be intensifying, with lightning flashing continuously, its light piercing through the small high windows and creating a strobing, nightmarish effect in the cellar. The secret room was behind a wine rack. The thick oak door was secured with a rusted iron lock. "Break it," Ethan ordered. Leo used an iron rod he had picked up in the kitchen to pry at the lock. After a few forceful attempts, the lock snapped open. They pushed the heavy door open. Inside was not an escape route. It was a small, windowless room with stone walls. In the center of the room were a small wooden table and a chair. On the table lay an old leather-bound book, looking just like Isabel's diary, and an oil lamp. But it wasn't those things that caught Ethan's attention. It was something else, hanging on the wall. A map. It was the original blueprint of Serenity Villa, hand-drawn on discolored parchment. It detailed every room, every hallway. But there was one strange detail. Right in the center of the house's foundation, corresponding to the main hall, the architect had drawn a strange symbol, a spiral surrounded by ancient characters, and written a small note beside it. Ethan moved closer, squinting to read the faded French script. "Le cœur de la malédiction. A détruire ou à paiser." The heart of the curse, Ethan translated, his voice trembling. "Must be destroyed or appeased." The heart of the curse. It was right beneath their feet. Under the floor of the main hall. But the most horrifying discovery was yet to come. He aimed his flashlight at the table, at the leather-bound book. It wasn't a diary. It was open to the first page, and on it was a handwriting that was painfully familiar. It was Anna's handwriting. "March 12th, last year. I made it here, Ethan. I found it. The place where sadness can be heard. I can't take it anymore. That secret. It's too heavy. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to know, didn't want anyone to know. But I can't live with it. Here, I feel understood. The other souls, they suffer just like me. Maybe staying with them will be better. Don't look for me. Live a good life, my dear brother." Next to the words was a small Polaroid picture. A selfie Anna had taken, smiling a forced smile. But behind her, lurking in the darkness of the hallway, was a figure. The figure of a man in a black work shirt, staring at the camera with a cunning smile. The spirit of the butler. He had lured Anna here. He had used her pain to drive her to despair, to make her believe that death was the only way out. He had taken his sister from him. An enraged roar escaped Ethan's throat. Pain, regret, and fury erupted inside him like a volcano. He was no longer afraid. He was consumed by a desire for revenge. He spun around and stormed out of the secret room. "Ethan! Where are you going?" Leo yelled. To end this, Ethan replied, his voice as cold as ice. "I'm going to destroy the heart of the curse. I'm going to burn this hell to the ground." He was no longer Ethan Vance, the gentle restorer. He was a brother seeking vengeance. And he would not stop until the butler's spirit had paid the price, and this house was reduced to ashes. Ignoring the pleas of Leo and Chloe, Ethan stormed into the main hall like a moth to a flame. His rage had given him a strength and recklessness that bordered on madness. He no longer saw the ghostly apparitions, no longer heard the terrifying sounds. His mind was filled only with the final image of Anna and the cunning smile of the butler. The main hall was pitch black, illuminated only by the jagged flashes of lightning from outside, which cast grotesque shadows. The hoarse laughter of the butler, Victor, echoed all around, mocking his despair. "Where are you? Show yourself!" Ethan roared into the darkness. The response was a blast of icy wind that extinguished their last remaining lantern. Absolute darkness enveloped them. "Ethan!" Chloe and Leo called out in panic from the cellar stairs. Suddenly, in the center of the hall, a figure slowly materialized. No longer a hazy black shadow, but a distinct form, a gaunt man in a black work shirt, his face haggard, his eyes glowing malevolently in the dark. It was the butler. "Looking for me, boy?" He spoke, his voice raspy and filled with malice. "You're just like your sister. Weak. Foolish. Came here to die. You killed her." Ethan screamed, his pain transforming into boiling hatred. "Killed her?" The butler let out a booming laugh that made the air tremble. "I didn't kill her. I just showed her the truth. That this life is meaningless. Pain is eternal. Death is the only release. She chose that path herself. Just like you're about to." The ghost of Victor raised his hand. The remaining furniture in the hall lifted into the air, swirling around Ethan like a vortex. A large wooden chair shot straight towards him. Ethan managed to dodge it just in time. He knew he couldn't fight its power directly. His goal was the heart of the curse. According to the map, it was located directly under the central floor tile of the main hall. He lunged for the center of the hall, ignoring the objects flying chaotically around him. The butler roared in fury, sending a large cabinet to block his path. Ethan used all his strength to squeeze past it, tumbling to the floor. He had reached the center. The floor here was laid with French-style patterned tiles. There was one tile with a spiral pattern, identical to the symbol on the map. "You won't succeed!" The ghost of Victor shrieked, lunging at Ethan. Just then, Leo and Chloe rushed forward. Leo threw the iron rod at the ghost. It passed right through it without causing any harm, but it was enough to make the entity pause for a second. "Ethan! Hurry!" Chloe screamed, her hand clutching the cross, her eyes squeezed shut in prayer. Ethan used the iron rod Leo had thrown to pry at the tile. It was cemented tight. He put all his strength into it, striking the edges hard. The tile cracked. The ghost of Victor turned back, its eyes glowing red. "You will all die." It waved its hand. An invisible force threw both Leo and Chloe against a wall, knocking them unconscious. Ethan was alone again. He struck the tile one more time. It shattered, revealing a small hollow space beneath. Inside was not a glittering artifact or a gruesome skull. It was just a stone. An ordinary-looking black river stone, but its surface was covered in ancient, carved symbols. The stone was emitting a frigid chill and a dark energy so suffocating it was hard to breathe. This was it. The heart of the curse. "Don't!" A familiar voice whispered in his ear. He turned. Anna was standing there. Not a faint illusion, but as clear as a living person. She wore her favorite white dress and smiled at him, a sad smile. "Ethan, don't do it," she said, her voice pleading. "If you destroy it, all of us will disappear." "Me too. It's not so bad here, brother. We're not lonely anymore. Stay here with me." Ethan froze. This was the final attack, the cruelest psychological blow. The butler was using Anna's image to sway him. But Ethan looked deep into his sister's eyes. He saw the emptiness there. This was not his Anna. His Anna would never want him to endure this pain. "You're not Anna," Ethan said, tears streaming down his cheeks. "My sister is gone. And you. You're the one who pushed her to the edge." He turned to face the ghost of Victor, who was standing there with a triumphant smirk. He looked back at the image of his sister, his voice softening with love and sorrow. "Anna, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you when you needed me most. I'm sorry I didn't see your pain. But now, let me set you free. Let me get you out of this place." He closed his eyes, picturing his most beautiful memories of his sister. Her radiant smile when she got a birthday present. The way she scrunched up her nose when she was displeased. Her voice when she called out, "Ethan." "Forgive yourself," Ethan whispered. He was saying it to himself, and to all the tormented souls trapped in this place. Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting, but about being able to move on. He opened his eyes, his gaze firm. The illusion of Anna smiled at him one last time, a truly peaceful smile, then slowly faded into the air. "No!" The butler roared, seeing his psychological trick had failed. Ethan didn't hesitate any longer. He picked up the cursed stone. It was cold as ice, and he felt it draining his life force. He gathered his remaining strength, braced himself, and slammed the stone down onto the marble floor. The stone shattered into 100 pieces. An earth-shattering scream erupted from the ghost of the butler. A burst of black energy exploded from where the stone had broken, spreading throughout the entire house. Everything shook violently. The ceiling cracked, plaster and debris raining down. The walls groaned as if about to collapse. The ghost of Victor dissolved with a final, agonized scream, torn apart by the very dark energy it had commanded. Ethan felt a change. The icy chill vanished, replaced by a strange peace. He heard soft sighs of relief, whispered thanks from all over the house. The six sorrows had been freed. The house was collapsing. Ethan rushed to Leo and Chloe, shaking them awake. Go. Go now. He helped them both to their feet, and together they stumbled out of the main entrance. Just as they cleared the doorway, the entire villa behind them collapsed with a deafening roar, sending up a massive cloud of dust and debris. The storm had subsided. The rain was now just a drizzle. Dawn was breaking on the horizon, a clear and pristine dawn. They stood there, three survivors, gazing at the pile of rubble before them. Serenity Villa, the tomb of tragedies, had finally been erased. The curse was broken. But when Leo and Chloe turned to look at Ethan, he was gone. They called his name, searching everywhere. But there was no trace of him. Ethan Vance had vanished with the collapse of the house, as if he had become part of the final sacrifice. His body was never found. The story of the three daring explorers and the mysterious collapse of Serenity Villa became a new legend in Pinecrest. Leo never made the movie. He deleted all the footage, burying the story forever. Chloe returned to her normal life, but she never forgot what happened, and she never set foot in another abandoned place again. Sometimes, on clear, moonlit nights, locals passing by the desolate hill would say they saw the figure of a man walking quietly among the ruins, a young woman's shadow by his side. They didn't spread fear, only a quiet, solemn peace. People said it was the spirits of the brother and sister, finally reunited, forever watching over the place where they had found their release. And on the grounds of the old villa, amidst the rubble and ashes, a rosewood music box lay undisturbed. It never played again, because its mournful song, at long last, was finished. Thank you for your interest and for listening to our channel story. Please support the channel by like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment with your thoughts on the story and its ending. Share this video with your friends and family. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next thrilling horror story. Thank you all for tuning in.